if you guys are joining us, watching this either live or after, this is Maine and Mulberry's Public Policy. Welcome to our first show of 2023. We usually have Maureen Frazier with us, who's the current vice mayor. I guess a vote's upcoming on that, but alderman and current vice mayor who is on a retreat with the board of mayor and aldermen. But she's usually with us on Thursday, and John Duncan, always with us, co-host. So Collierville Town Economic Development Director. And Collierville, Tennessee is what we talk about, town just outside of Memphis. And John and I have just been chatting a little bit, and Memphis, Tennessee has, I guess a large portion of the country had, really freeze type weather, a 0 degree type weather, which is very foreign for Collierville, Tennessee. And so, you have pipes. We had the power companies were doing rolling blackouts to conserve energy. And Collierville, Tennessee, which is just outside, people think of it as a suburb of Memphis, Tennessee. But as John and I were talking, it's really a pretty autonomous type city. We do get some resources from Collierville does get some resources from Memphis, but autonomous water system allowed Collierville to not have to go through a boil water as all of Memphis and even Germantown, another suburb around, was having to do some boil water as well. And so Collierville has its own water system, even to the extent that we sell water outside of the town limits. My residence is outside in Piperton, which they call East Collierville. And because we're using Collierville water, I didn't have to boil water either. So, right. But yeah, that's something that when you think about the city and marketing the city, it's kind of a big deal, right? To have these utilities and things that are unique to the city.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I think it's times like this through the Christmas holiday that I think as cold as it got that I saw was 5 degrees. But yeah, we had pipes bust around town, and we had some issues with some infrastructure here and there. But for the most part, it was pretty clean. And I think the fact that we've got our own water and sewer system that we manage was positioned us not to have to have a boil order and not have to tell people not to use the shower and the washing machines. I think people did that anyway, but that independence really helped us get through this crisis in a different way compared to other parts of the community that you just mentioned. So, our school system's independent. Our library is independent. Water and sewer is independent. That independence, I think, is a positive thing and served us well.
Yeah, I agree. And knock on wood, there's nothing to say that a freeze couldn't come through and we wouldn't have to. I mean, something could happen and we get low pressure as well. But a smaller geographic area so that we can concentrate our resources on getting those pipes fixed and repaired, it helps as well, even if it were to come to that. But in this case, we were fortunate and didn't have to do that. But yes, independent school systems, all of that make Collierville no one likes to use this term around here. Sorry, but no one likes to use this term, but it is a city. It is a functioning city. Everybody wants to call it a town, and I get that. It is a town, but it is, for all practical purposes, it is a functioning city with its own governance, its own mayor, alderman, incorporated, 150 plus years old, unique, to the area, really, in all of the things that it has compared to other suburbs, right? Collierville is very unique, and its growth plan is pretty unique, and we talk about that a lot on this show, in that there is a plan for Collierville and how it's going to grow. And I know John, being economic development, can probably give us some update. It's been a few weeks since we spoke, but one of the last things that we were talking about is one of our large employers in Collierville is expanding. Being successfully officed here, Oracle being successfully officed here, is expanding. That's a good story to tell. And I'm reading too about that we've extended the pilot payment in lieu of taxes to them as well to some extent. So maybe, John, if you could just give everybody a quick couple minutes update on what's happening with Oracle and why that's beneficial to us.
Well, and what's interesting, we talk about this all the time. Collierville is many things, to include a corporate headquarters community. We've got the whole FedEx World Technology Center. We've got Mueller and MCR and Helena, and IMC now is here. Juice Plus is in town. So we've got a lot of companies that have placed their corporate headquarters here. And that's a good thing for our community. It's a good thing for our economy. People want to live near where they work. So this corporate growth and development that we continue to experience is a good thing. And one of our newest corporate partners, Orgel, has announced an expansion plan behind their corporate headquarters. Back in 2016, 17, Orgel cut the ribbon on a 120,000 square foot, 4-story corporate headquarters there on Houston Levee between 385 and Winchester. It's a beautiful building. And people oftentimes, well, what does Orgel do? What does Mueller do? What does MCR do? Orgel is a hardware store distributor and consultancy. So they supply products. I think they've got like 70,000 SKUs. They provide products to the independent, primarily the independent hardware store, and they act as a consultancy to these hardware stores as well. So what they're going to do and what their plan is to create an office showroom behind the current corporate headquarters on Houston Levee. So this facility is going to be between Houston Levee and Bailey Station, between Winchester and 385, kind of across the street from FedEx, visually across the street from FedEx, behind Orgel. And what it's going to be is a 530,000 square foot, that's big, a 530,000 square foot office showroom. And what's going to be in there is a variety of mock hardware stores. So they can bring their clients and their prospects to town and say, we recommend this concept. We think you would thrive utilizing this concept, and have a bunch of different types of hardware stores set up in there and bringing people to town, not only to talk about products and product training, but also talk about how they can better position their business to grow by utilizing this showroom concept. So it's 530,000 square feet, which is big.
It's massive.
They're going to bring about 75 jobs there, which will make the total Orgel Collierville job number 415, 450. These are good jobs. Some of the cool things about this, number one, it's a $77 million investment in land, building, and tangible personal property that will be inside that building. The Orgel headquarters was a $21 million project. IMC was a $21 million project. Mueller was a $17 million project. Those are big projects. This is a $77 million project. So you take the corporate headquarters and this together, Orgel has invested almost $100 million and 450 jobs in our community. And they're going to bring 700 plus invited guests to town every year for 2, 3, 4 days, which will have impact on our hotels and our restaurants and other commercial entities around town. And in the short term, this project is going to require 600 construction workers to be there doing various things. And that's a $22 million payroll just for the short-term construction work. So you look at the real estate, the jobs, the economic impact of visitors, the short-term construction jobs, these large, significant economic development projects have great impact in the short term and the long term to our community.
And so some of those things that you're mentioning, those are going to generate income for the town. And that's why the town also extends the pilot type situation to them, right? Because it's an offset. So we want to incent them to come in because those auxiliary benefits that are sometimes looked at as intangible outweigh what the direct benefits would be for some period of time, right? I mean, that's the game, right? Well,
exactly. It's a business case study is what it really is. So that land between FedEx and Orgel on Bailey, those houses were built there between 1918 and 1950. And that area now is mostly vacated with a few exceptions. So it's undeveloped land. And the people that live there and still own property there have gotten together as a group to sell that property. And what's interesting is right now that land generates about $3,500 a year in Collierville property taxes and about $9,000 a year in Shelby County taxes. So let's just call it $12,000 a year in Collierville and Shelby County taxes. The pilot payment alone, so we're waiving taxes, but they still have to make a payment. That's what a pilot is, payment in lieu of taxes. The pilot payment is going to be something like $150,000. So we're going from a situation where that property was generating $10,000 to $15,000 a year to a situation now where that property through the pilot is going to generate in the short term $150,000 a year for Collierville. And then you throw in the visitors and the people now working there and the long-term benefits of having this 500,000 square foot entity in our community. Put that all together, it's a pretty meaningful investment that Oracle's making in Collierville, and the direct and indirect benefits to our community is what helps us to continue to grow and to fuel and to fund what we're all about.
And that's common, right? I mean, the pilot programs, they're happening everywhere. That's a common negotiation thing, where you use that to entice people to come to your town and expand and things like that. So they're paying less than they would in taxes overall, but they're still paying a whole lot more than the taxes that the town was receiving off of the undeveloped land. And then you get all of these other benefits. I'm curious, and I know we don't have Maureen with us as well to get into budgeting, but the opposite side of some of these things, where people talk about, well, we have to maintain tax dollars because we have to fund services. So we have to fund fire and we have to fund police and those type of things, which obviously funding, especially police, is on the top of everyone's mind because of what's happening and some of the crime that we're seeing, not just in Collierville, but all around this area. And so, but I don't know, there's specific ways that the town can use dollars. So I don't know that property taxes, I don't know how they allocate towards fire and those type of things. There's different buckets and ways you can spend them and all of that type of stuff. But either way, what you're saying, what I'm hearing you saying is that either way, there's going to be more money in the bucket, whatever in the total bucket. Either way, we're growing, and if the benefit to the town in other tax areas and in the payment that's coming in, the town has calculated, they've done diligence and said, okay, this works, and we're able to provide services at this level and to continue to keep the town safe and to keep, and all those type of things. So it's all a formula that has been thought through. It's not just, hey, yeah, we'll give you a pilot and here's the payment is calculated, the taxes. It's all a study, as you mentioned.
It is. It's a business case study. And I love it. I love doing this because it's really interesting. It's fun and it's vibrant and it's meaningful to the town. But yeah, you're right. The bucket that had 10,000 in it is now going to have 150,000 in it. And we've also studied, Keith, over the years, what sort of drain, what sort of stress does an IMC or a Mueller or an Oracle put on police and fire? And it's minimal. So it's not because this is coming. It's not going to stress our services, specifically police and fire, because they are there. So we feel like corporate headquarters and corporate entities have a positive impact and influence on our community, be it the direct and indirect revenues that they create, and also the stress that they would put on our community, and typically is minimal.
And that's a good point, because it's not a driver that says that's going to be a destination that would likely bring people to town that would be more crime oriented, right? So people aren't going to come to this studio to rob it. People aren't going to come to that's the differences in offices versus if it were a 500 square foot mall or something else. Then you have to think about policing that a little bit differently and understanding consumers are going to be there and the fire and the access and all that type of stuff. With offices, that threshold is pretty low, right? Now, of course, a lot of construction going on. We'll have to adjust with that as it's being constructed. But after that, it's just really bring on the office space, because it doesn't need a whole lot of services, so it's almost all benefit, right?
I think so. And also, what I like looking at these things from a big picture perspective and the impact it has not only on Collierville, but on the surrounding areas. And the fact that during the construction phase of this project, I think they want to move in late 25, there are going to be 600 people working there with a construction payroll of $22 million, you run the math on that, that's basically $37,000 to $40,000 a year that those 600 people are getting. And that helps the Shelby County, Fayette County, Marshall County, DeSoto County, fill in the blank, helps their economy as well, because people are working, people have money in their pocket that they're spending and investing. So all of this works together when you look at these economic development. You can't look at it like that. You've got to look at it like that. And we do. And 9 times out of 10, they're impactful and they make sense. And Keith, I have told people no before. I've run the numbers. I'm like, there's just not anything here. I don't feel like we can incentivize what you're trying to do. So we have said no. But this is, when you look at FedEx World Technology Center, the high school, this is the 3rd biggest project that's come through the town in its 150-year history. So it is a very significant project that we're kind of working through the system as we speak.
I didn't realize that, but it's also a testament too that the Oracle's a known entity. They've been here for a while. We know them, and we have a relationship with them, and so that's a kind of a testament to say, okay, we were here, it worked. What we did worked. We're ready to expand. Our business is growing. All of those things factor into it. So I love it. I love the office space stuff. And then just trying to hit that both sides, because people have questions. Okay, there's going to be all these people that are, doing construction in town. We've got to be suited for them. And if you don't get taxes in, then how do we handle all that? And so it's an economic ecosystem that is there, right?
It is. It sure is. And I'll tell you something else. You talk about Oracle. They did their $21 million corporate headquarters 5 years ago, and it's been very successful. They're one of the oldest companies in the region. They've been around a long time. So there's sustainability and there's stability there. So we think this and them is going to be around a while. So they continue to invest in our community, just like IMC. IMC's got this beautiful 75,000 square foot headquarters in Schilling Farms. They're already talking about doing another one. So these projects, they build upon themselves, and then they also create other opportunities. And in the case of Oracle, this new 530,000 square foot facility. In the case of IMC, potentially another significant office building.
Yeah. So it's just a kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's all positive, all upside. So, but people, it's not sexy, right? But so when you go out, when you go out on social media, then everybody's talking about the new restaurants that are coming and all of that, and because that stuff directly affects. But what you don't understand is this undercurrent of officing and type of industry is what fuels that. That's what brings the revenue to town. That's what brings the people to town. So it's that base. You got to have a foundation before you can experience the hot tub. You got to have a slab to put it on, right? So this is the slab for your hot tub.
We got to have slabs, man.
We got to have slabs, right?
What's the sandwich place there at Bahalia and Poplar that's been very slow to come to fruition, right behind the Verizon? Was it
Jimmy John's?
Jimmy John's, right? Jimmy John's isn't coming to town, or Chipotle or Chick-fil-A or any of that without Guthrie's, thank you, without Oracle and IMC and the town's growth in general. But those companies look at things like corporate, and I think I wrote an article about this in Tour Collierville a while back. A lot of these restaurants want to be near corporate headquarters. A lot of these restaurants want to be near colleges. A lot of these restaurants want to be near fill in the blank. And the fact that we've got all these corporate headquarters, a thriving residential community, infrastructure, that is what you talk about, this economic ecosystem, that all works together to bring the things to town that we desire and helps us thrive and sustain what we're all about.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. And Collierville's dedicated to it, obviously, with the dedicated position for you. This isn't like it's not a afterthought that is piggybacked on another organization or whatever. There's a specific economic development initiative, and there's a plan, and there's zoning, and all of these things that come together to make it happen. And so I think Collierville does a great job of it. And again, these are positive things that will help us to grow and help us to get more services. And then if you start to think about it from the standpoint of just individual taxes, we had a great show. It's been a while now that Kevin Vaughn came on and was talking about that we can grow and we can continue to bring things to town that generate income, or we can raise taxes to the individuals. That's a distinct choice, but the income has to be there, and we have to continue to do things like fight crime. And I want to talk about that a little bit to see what you know about some of the recent stuff. But that's the choice, right? And that's not to say that you would never have to increase taxes. I think that the Collierville, it's easy for me to say. Our office is in Collierville, but my home is in East Collierville, Piperton, so it's easy for me to say. But I think that an increase in taxes may be warranted at some point. That's a dirty word. None of our politicians like to talk about it. But either way, the more we grow, the less that has to happen. But one way or another, these things have to be funded, right? And so this is, if you think about it in that standpoint, there's a direct benefit to you for businesses, offices, those type of things to come to town, because they're offsetting what you have to pay out of your pocket directly in taxes to keep this ship floating, right?
Right. They are services and amenities for the community, and all, as important, they're revenue streams that help fuel and fund this place we call home, this place we call Collierville. Like Kevin Vaughn said, without Orgel and south of Beale and Kroger and residential growth, you've got other challenges, and many communities have challenges that we really don't fret over, because we've got this diverse economy. We're growing here, we're going there. A lot of the components of our town are doing well, and I hope that continues. I feel like it will continue, but we're organized in such a way that we're going to continue. I'm bullish. We're going to continue to, I'm not saying we're going to do that, but I think we're going to keep doing that because of how we're organized. All of this stuff working together. And Keith, we've talked about this before. We can be somewhat, I hate to use the word picky or choosy, but we don't have to grab and pursue everything that comes across our desk, because we don't really have to. And if it doesn't fit who we are and what we are, we're not that interested. So we're in a really strong position to manage our growth as we go forward. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be in that position. We're kind of like a buyer's market. We get to pick and choose who we want to come to town.
Right.
So we got a question from Scott about what's the other building opposite of the new SOB restaurant.
Yes. Have you driven through there lately? You've been over there?
A little bit. I've driven by there, and I we stopped there when we were doing that drive-through a little bit.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah, but I don't know exactly directly opposite.
There's
House Poplar or
no. Well, I'll answer it all. There are two 6,000 square foot retail pads going in there. South of Beale will occupy the building to the west, and you can see the patio. There's like a pitched roof, and you can see where the patio is going to be. So south of Beale is going to have 100 seats inside and 40 seats outside, and you can see that taking shape in that western building. The building next door is just another 6,000 square foot retail pad that will have a variety of retail users in there. In fact, I reached out. I was over there yesterday, I think, and I reached out to the broker. Hey, man, what can you tell me? People want to know, besides SOB, who else is coming? And I'm still waiting for some feedback on that. But as soon as I hear, I'll let you know. But here we go. Ecosystem. So two 6,000 square foot retail pads, the western one being occupied by South of Beale. And then west of where South of Beale is going to be, in that raw land right now, is where Marriott is going to build a 115 room Towns Place hotel, an extended stay hotel, which will be very nice, right there in Schilling, to service the hospital folks across the street, to service all the corporate people in Schilling, and all the others that need hotel rooms in this town as we continue to grow. So all this builds on itself, and because of that, we get this. Because of this, we get that. That's what's all happening right there. I think that's what Scott is referring to. But across the street across Poplar from that is a new assisted living facility that looks kind of like a smaller version of the farms at Bailey Station. But what's going up across the street from Schilling is an assisted living facility being built by a company out of Michigan.
And that's also potentially where Chick-fil-A could move, right?
Exactly. So that, once again, you got Schilling growth, and you've got Poplar Avenue and center of town. Here comes this assisted living facility. Okay, people are interested in that. So what else can we put there that makes strategic sense for the town and for our particular business? And that's where they had talked about maybe moving a Chick-fil-A. Whataburger had looked at that property. Others have looked at that property. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to sit idle very long. So stay tuned.
So if Chick-fil-A built right there and did move and built right there by the assisted living facility, the key question, I think, is would you go back there for your morning coffees and answer economic development questions from the elderly people that like to go and have coffee at Chick-fil-A? Would you go back to that practice?
Oh, I would definitely go back to that practice. I loved it and I thrived on it. Anytime I can, tell, hey, here's what I know. I don't know it all, but I'm pretty engaged in this stuff. Let me share with you, or let me remind you, or let me tell you about whatever you're interested in. I love that community engagement, probably one of the funnest aspects of what I do. But yeah, Keith, I'm there with my own table. Next, I might even take numbers like they do. Number 43, come here. What do you got? So
yeah, there you go. That's one of the most unfortunate things I think about about COVID and is that it changed things like that. And there was Chick-fil-A where it is now is completely remodeled to basically be a pickup location. They've only got a few tables there. But as things come back around, I would think if they were to build, it may look different. We may can get back to some of that. But there's a group of people. I had a relative that was one of them that go to Chick-fil-A every morning and sit and have coffee and talk. And and they solve all the problems of Collierville. And that's been a downside, I think, of COVID, because that stuff's cool. It's cool to walk into a Chick-fil-A or any place in Collierville in the mornings and see some of that and people talking and John's in answering questions and that kind of stuff. So I'll bring that up because I have fond memories of it.
Yeah, I remember that table of maybe 6 to 10 guys sitting there by the window. They would always, hey, come here. What's going on? Just like Scott just asked, what's going on over here and why and who? And it's right. If it's fun to share that. And the more we share it, like we do on this program, Keith, every week, I think it helps the community fully understand what's going on around them in a place where they've invested because they bought a house or they're renting or whatever, or have a business. So people like to know what's going on in their community for sure.
Yeah, I get it now. I get some of it now, and I enjoy it. It's kind of cool. I was getting my haircut a couple of months ago, and I heard some people talking or whatever, and they were asking about the Chick-fil-A in particular, bringing it. Where's the Chick-fil-A going? And then I heard one of them say, "Well, Keith's here. He's just down there. Hey, Keith, where's the new Chick-fil-A?" And so I start to get some of it too, but it's cool, just from being on this show and that type of stuff, So it's fun, but let's touch on a little bit of what we know, because we are seeing, and I guess the holidays are bringing some of it, but we've got, carriage crossing right by the interstate, and we hear things around there and all of these things are happening, but we talk a lot about it. And I talk a lot about some of the insulated areas. And I kind of lean towards building our retail more further away from interstate exits because that seems to help with some of the crime that may be coming and hopping off the interstate and hopping back on. But contrary to me, we had a pretty big incident at Academy Sports, which is fairly well insulated. You're going to have to go a couple of miles to get to an interstate access. And there was also one at Saddle Creek in Germantown where a woman was attempted to be abducted there, I think. And that's really well insulated. And so I don't know. I think that in these cases, the people are not from Collierville in these cases, to my knowledge, that have been arrested or those type of things. So we're seeing people come into these areas we're traditionally safe police type areas and getting more and more brave and doing more and more crime that's that's going to be a particular challenge moving forward. Correct? So getting into some of those barriers. What do you know, or what do you think about any of that stuff, John? What have you heard?
Well, I think the criminal element has become more brazen in the last year or two. I mean, you see it every night on the news where they're bold and they're doing things that they maybe wouldn't have done 5, 10, 15 years ago. And from what I know, there was a situation at Academy uh, where some individuals attempted to steal merchandise from the Academy. The police were on the scene pretty quickly, as they're known to do. We've got one of the best trained, funded, supported police departments in the country, and they were on the scene quickly, and it de-escalated from what I know. And I know there were some arrests, but as far as anything beyond that, Keith, I don't have much to tell you. I do know that TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, is looking into the incident because there were shots fired, and I think they're looking into that. But it was unfortunate. I'm glad no one was hurt, obviously. And once again, say this all, my hat's off to our finest, the Collierville Police Department, for being the professionals and being on the spot so quickly as they were. So that's really all I know, other than what you probably have read in the Memphis Business Journal or the Daily Memphian.
Yeah. Does that affect your job, or do you get questions like that when you've got people that you're coming to town or courting? Is crime something that they ask about?
It's certainly something that they ask about. And, I'm a big data guy. I'm a stats guy. And, like one of my bosses back in the day told me, better living through numbers. And our numbers continue to tell us that Collierville, Tennessee is one of the safest communities, not only in the area, but in the region. And we've got a lot of information and data and stats that talk to that. And that is what companies are interested in reviewing and understanding. So it is something that people are interested in and want to know about. And we've got a pretty good story to tell as relates to all of that. So it's part of my job. It certainly is. And I'm proud to say we've got a very positive story to share when it comes to crime and what's going on in and around this community.
Yeah, and I hear we've obviously had some changes in the court system, and I've seen and heard some on social about, we had I joked, we did have our judge in town was really, I think Judge Hall was really one of the strictest that made national news one time because of what he was holding somebody for their what do you call it, their bail, or it was so high, they picked up someone else's piece of chewing gum and they were held on a $40 million bail or something. It was like, but you hear those things, and so they're talking about, is that being tested? Are we still as firm and as aggressive from that standpoint of it? And I think some of that is folklore, right? Obviously, like what I'm throwing out there, you can't give somebody that much bail for picking up, stealing a pack of gum or whatever. But but there is it has to fit the crime, and some of that just is set the way it is, the way you have to do certain things. But are you seeing any sort of softening or anything with any of that change, or do you think we're in good shape there?
Well, I think our reputation locally, regionally, and nationally is that Collierville is one of the safest communities around, and we work very hard to maintain safety and security in our community. So I think we will continue to do that. I mean, I know that the police department is fully funded, fully supported, and trained in such a way that we will continue to be one of the, if not the safest communities in the region. So I'm fully confident that whatever actions need to be taken, whatever strategies need to be implemented as we continue to move forward, will certainly be implemented and organized in such a way that we continue to be a choice community. And one of the reasons why we are a choice community is we've got excellent safety and security and a wonderful police department.
Yeah, and I think it naturally. You live in Collierville, you pay the taxes in Collierville, you've got, you expect law enforcement to keep you safe and do their job, and they do. But that doesn't relieve the community or the people from any responsibility as well. And any strong community, the community's playing a role. They're being situationally aware, understanding where you're going, and understanding that for better or for worse, we are, and there's both. There's good things about being close to Memphis, and there's downsides of being close to Memphis, but it is one of the highest crime areas in the nation. And you would be situationally aware if you go into Memphis. Every one of us would that live around here in certain areas. You don't have to be that heightened if you're walking around in Collierville, but you got to be aware and you got to understand that we are in that proximity. The police are doing their job, but we got to help, not meet them in the middle, but we've got to help meet somewhere, and the community needs to do that. So the more that we're participating, the more that you're helping the police department, the more that you got your camera footage on your house and you're aware when you're walking around retail and that type of stuff. And a lot of these things where I'm leading are crimes of opportunity. All right. So, you hear about carriage crossing, there's busting out windows in cars and things like that. We can be relaxed somewhat to leave my wallet or leave something, because I believe Collierville is very safe, to leave something out in the open. I mean, then somebody's walking by, a crime might have not happened, but now they bust a window and they're going to take it because I got cash laying on the seat. Don't do that. It's certain things are just, hey, we've got to meet in the middle. We can't just be, this is safe, the police are going to take care of me. We're great. We've got to think through some of that as well. And you'll keep those crime statistics down by doing some of that, because some of it is just crime of opportunity. Right.
Well, you're right. And you should have Judge on the show one of these times, and certainly bring Chief Lane back. But one of the things that Chief Lane has always said, and, we've got low crime out here. We really do. We would have even lower crime if people would lock their cars, lock their homes, put guns away, put the wallet away, put the purse away. Don't leave packages and shopping bags in the car. Put it in your trunk. All of these things, like you said, crimes of opportunity, and we could eliminate a lot of that if people would be a little more diligent about some of that. So yeah, you should have the Judge on one of these shows just to talk about what their vision is for the community, as well as Chief Lane, because I think he could shine some additional light on all this. But right now, like I said, it's still a community of choice, and it's a community of choice because of what we're all about, to include a safe and secure place to raise a family, to work, and to live.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't walk around feeling unsafe in any way, even though these things, these stories, get out there. But I don't walk around feeling safe. But I have, once I hear about it, I do start when my daughter goes out. Say, be sure to lock your doors. Be sure, those type of things that you just have to do. It's unfortunate. It's not anyone's fault if they get robbed or if they get mugged. It's not your fault. But at the same time, you can minimize that risk by doing certain things. And I thought it was interesting too. One of the alderman candidates, we did interview the alderman candidates, didn't win, but Jewel said that, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, but at his church, he has, they have the police come to his church and meet the young people. So they're start to get the interaction, understand the relationship. It's not an oppositional relationship, things like that, so that we can kind of start growing in that direction. I thought that was a cool thing too, and the more things we do like that, just to help support the police department, the better off we're going to be. And that's not just financial, right? It's not just your taxes. It's active.
Well, and you talk about relationships and impressions. Some of those popular people in town, I think, are probably the police officers that work in conjunction with the Collierville schools, the on-site police officers that we have at most of the schools here in Collierville. Those guys know the kids know them. And not only is that a great service to our community, but it also builds community relations in such a way where those young kids have a different relationship or a different impression of the law enforcement community than maybe a lot of other kids might have that aren't experiencing the things that they're experiencing. So I think that program has served us well and will continue to serve us well.
Yeah, absolutely. So things are happening. And proactive things are happening. These crime things, they're unfortunate. We've all got to be aware of them. We stay in tune with them. But the more that we grow and we grow in the right directions, and then the income comes in and it helps to offset that too. So you think about even something like we were talking about at the first of the show, Oracle growing and expanding. That helps to fight crime, because it increases revenue. All of these things fill together and connect all of these dots. So anyway, we hope you guys will follow us. I think we put out on social media that 2023, these Thursday mornings will be the place to get the facts in 2023. So come here, ask questions. We'll provide you factual information. There's a lot of conversation that happens on social media. Again, Maureen Frazier is usually with us and can provide insight into what's happening from the town standpoint, more insight on the things that we were talking about today. But if you want to know the answers to really what's going on in town, there's no place better than joining this show on Thursday mornings, asking your questions. If you watch it after the fact, ask your questions. We'll circle back to them. But this is the place to get the real factual information. So we hope that you join us on Thursdays. John, appreciate you giving us an update today.
Can I say one more thing? You mentioned the fact that Alderman Frazier was at a retreat. I want people to know that Alderman Frazier and the mayor and others are not at down in Tunica or at XYZ Resort somewhere. They are at the library across the street in the Halley meeting room over there. That's where they're having their retreats. So before anybody, hey, so just, hey, once again, being responsible with the citizens' tax dollars, if you will. We're having their retreat at one of our facilities next door to the library, doing some strategic planning as 2023 continues to unfold. So that's where Maureen is. She's not in Tunica. She's not playing golf somewhere. I just wanted to make that point.
See, I assumed that she was sitting in Chick-fil-A drinking coffee.
Hey, would not be a bad place for a strategy session for sure.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. And thanks everybody for joining us. Maureen, we miss you. Welcome you back next week. And we'll be back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.